In a quiet village, there is a river no one dares to cross after dark. They call it Roti Hui Nadi, the river that does not just flow, it breathes. Locals say the water remembers every face that looks into it. One night, a young woman hears whispers rising from the river's heart. She steps closer, and what she sees changes everything she knows about life and death. The sun had just begun to sink behind the distant hills. The river, known to locals as the Roti Hui Nadi, shimmered under the golden light. Birds flew across the sky, their cries echoing through the quiet village. A gentle breeze carried the scent of wet earth and fresh grass. Amara walked along the narrow path that led to the riverbank. Her bare feet pressed into the soft mud, leaving fleeting impressions. She felt a shiver run down her spine, though the air was warm. The water moved slowly, almost lazily, yet it made a strange, low hum. Amara leaned closer to the edge, staring into its dark surface. Something beneath the ripples seemed to shift, and her heart skipped a beat. The sound of a branch snapping somewhere behind her made her spin around. The village seemed unusually silent, as if holding its breath. Amara tried to call out, but her voice caught in her throat. Her eyes darted across the river, tracing shapes that seemed almost human. The shadows of the trees stretched unnaturally over the water. A sudden splash made her stumble backward, her breath sharp and ragged. The water at the riverbank began to churn violently, though no wind had risen. Amara could hear whispers carried by the breeze, soft but insistent. Her skin prickled as the cold touch of fear wrapped around her chest. The river's surface rippled and glowed faintly, reflecting a pale, eerie light. A figure emerged, its outline vague yet unmistakable. It moved toward her, slow and deliberate, eyes glowing like molten gold. Amara froze, unable to move or look away. The sound of the water seemed to grow louder, drowning out everything else. The figure reached the edge of the river, and the water around it boiled and hissed. Amara felt as if the world had paused, her senses trapped in the thick, humid air. Then, the figure opened its mouth, not to speak, but to reveal a hollow darkness inside. A cold, unnatural wind surged from the river, brushing her face with icy fingers. Amara stumbled back, her heart hammering against her ribs. The river gurgled, as though laughing, and the figure dissolved into the water. The hum receded, leaving a silence heavier than before. Amara stood alone, trembling, staring at the river that now looked deceptively calm. Every instinct screamed at her to run, yet her feet remained rooted to the spot. The water licked at the riverbank, as if inviting her closer. Amara whispered a prayer, her voice trembling with every word. She knew she could never forget this moment, nor the feeling of being watched by the river. The sun dipped fully below the horizon, casting the world into shadow. The Roti Hui Nadi glimmered faintly under the moonlight, as if hiding secrets in its depths. Amara turned and ran, leaving her footprints in the mud, but the hum followed her all the way home. The night settled over the village, thick and suffocating. From the river came a faint, distant splash, almost a warning. Amara shivered, knowing the Roti Hui Nadi was not just a river anymore. It was something alive, something waiting. Something that remembered her. Amara could not sleep that night. Her bed felt too soft, too confining, as if the darkness in her room pressed against her skin. Every creak of the wooden floor made her flinch. The air smelled damp, carrying faint hints of the river, though it was far away. Her mind replayed the figure she had seen, and she shivered uncontrollably. It was not human, yet it moved with purpose. Its eyes had burned into her memory, glowing with a light that was neither warm nor comforting. She tried to close her eyes, but images of the river's rippling surface haunted her. The hum, faint at first, seemed to echo in her ears even within the safety of her room. Amara's mother had long warned her about the river. Stories passed down through generations spoke of those who vanished without a trace. Locals called it cursed, yet it remained a lifeline for the village. Amara had always thought it was exaggeration, nothing more than old wives' tales. Now, she knew they were warnings written in fear, born from truth. The moon rose high, casting silver light through the window. Shadows danced on the walls, and she imagined them moving closer, following her every breath. A sudden knock at the door made her jump. No one in her house would visit at this hour. Her hands trembled as she reached for the handle. The door creaked open slowly, revealing nothing but darkness beyond. Amara stepped back, her heart racing. A whisper floated through the gap, soft and chilling. It was a voice she did not recognize, yet it called her name with certainty. Her body felt heavy, as if something invisible pressed against her chest. She wanted to shut the door, to retreat into safety, yet she could not move. The whisper grew louder, clearer, carrying a strange rhythm, almost like a song. It seemed to come from the river itself, flowing through her walls and into her ears. Amara's mind raced. She remembered the footprints at the riverbank, the way the water had moved unnaturally around the figure. Her instincts screamed at her to flee, but some part of her was drawn to the sound. The next morning, the village looked ordinary again. Birds chirped, children ran through the dusty paths, and smoke rose from cooking fires. Nothing seemed out of place, yet Amara knew what she had seen was real. She avoided the river for days, staying close to home, but the memory haunted her. Every night, the whispers returned, growing stronger, carrying new words she could not understand. Her dreams were filled with the river's surface, dark and glimmering, stretching endlessly. Figures appeared in her dreams, their eyes glowing, their movements deliberate. One night, she awoke to the sound of water lapping against her window. The river should have been miles away, yet she could hear it clearly, like it had crept close under the cover of darkness. A chill wrapped around her body, seeping into her bones. Amara rose cautiously, drawn toward the sound, unable to resist its pull. Her bare feet touched the cold floor, and she walked without thinking, guided by some force she did not understand. The whispers called her again, urging her forward. Outside, the village was silent, blanketed in an unnatural fog. The moon reflected on the distant river, illuminating it like a silver ribbon cutting through the night. Amara approached the riverbank cautiously, the mud cold under her feet. The water rippled as if stirred by invisible hands. The figure from before emerged once more. It did not speak, yet Amara understood that it waited for her, patient and unmoving. The hum of the water grew into a roar, echoing in the empty night. Amara's eyes followed the figure as it moved closer. Its shape shifted, elongating and stretching, yet remaining eerily humanoid. The moonlight caught on its surface, revealing textures like scales or rough bark. The whispers turned into words, though she could not understand the language. Her chest tightened, and she felt a sharp, stabbing pain in her temples. She wanted to turn away, to flee back to the village. But her legs were frozen. A cold mist rose from the river, winding around her ankles and creeping upward. Amara felt a strange sensation, as if the river itself wanted to merge with her. The figure reached the water's edge and raised an arm, pointing toward the center of the river. A small boat appeared, floating silently without oars or a visible occupant. Amara knew she was meant to enter it. Fear battled curiosity within her, each struggling to dominate her mind. She took a tentative step forward, the mud sucking at her feet. The figure did not move but continued to watch her intently, unwavering. With a deep breath, Amara stepped into the boat. The surface of the river rippled violently under her weight. The boat did not sink. Instead, it floated smoothly, carrying her across the water. The river's hum grew into a symphony of whispers, voices overlapping and blending. Amara could feel the light surrounded Amara, swallowing the darkness whole. For a moment, she could see nothing. Only silence remained, thick, complete, almost peaceful. Then, shapes began to emerge from the glow. She saw faces, hundreds of them, drifting just beneath the water's surface. They were not frightening. They looked calm, almost asleep, their expressions softened by time. Amara realized she was floating above them, not in the boat anymore. The river had turned still, its surface as smooth as glass. A gentle hum filled the air, no longer threatening, but soothing, like a lullaby. The figure appeared beside her once more, its eyes no longer glowing with fire. Instead, they shimmered softly, reflecting the moonlight. It raised a hand and touched the water. Ripples spread outward, each one carrying faint echoes of laughter, voices, and forgotten dreams. Amara felt a warmth in her chest, a strange understanding blooming within her. The river was not evil. It was alive, ancient, aware, and filled with memories of every soul that had ever touched it. Those who vanished had not been taken. They had simply become part of something greater, their stories preserved in the current forever. A soft voice whispered inside her mind, calm and familiar. "You have seen what others feared to see." Amara looked down at her reflection. It shimmered, distorting slightly, as if the water were calling her name again. Her fear melted away, replaced by a deep, inexplicable peace. She understood now. The Roti Hui Nadi did not destroy, it remembered. It carried the weight of forgotten lives, turning sorrow into song. The figure began to fade, its outline merging with the mist. Amara closed her eyes as the light dimmed, and the world began to return. When she opened them again, she was standing at the riverbank. The morning sun had risen, painting the world in golden warmth. The fog had lifted, and the river looked ordinary once more, calm, quiet, and unthreatening. But something was different. The air smelled fresh, alive, as if the earth itself had been reborn overnight. Amara touched her face and felt traces of dried tears she did not remember shedding. In the distance, she heard the villagers beginning their day, voices, laughter, the clatter of daily life. Everything seemed normal, yet deep inside, Amara knew she was not the same person anymore. She glanced at the river one last time. The water glimmered softly under the sun, and for a fleeting moment, she thought she saw a reflection beside her, the faint outline of the figure, smiling gently before fading away. A soft breeze brushed against her cheek, carrying the familiar hum, faint but eternal. Amara smiled, not out of joy, but understanding. She turned and began walking back toward the village path. Behind her, the Roti Hui Nadi flowed quietly, its voice blending with the rustle of trees and distant birds. The river had found another story to keep. And somewhere beneath its shimmering surface, her name joined the whispers, not in sorrow, but in peace. The river would always remember. Because the Roti Hui Nadi never forgets.